following statement is addressed first to the citizens of Fillmore and second to you, Mayor, and the Fillmore City Council. It is with heavy heart I'm announcing my resignation from the Fillmore City Council to commence at the end of this meeting. An unexpected opportunity presented itself that my family and I could not overlook. We have purchased a home in the Fillmore with a Fillmore zip code, but located outside of the Fillmore city limits. With your indulgence, I would like to take this opportunity to express my appreciation and gratefulness that I have experienced in my representation of the city of Fillmore for 9 years. First, I want to acknowledge the citizens of Fillmore who have on 3 occasions elected me to serve as their elected official. I have been honored to be your delegate here in Fillmore and as your representative on various county commissions and districts. I trust I have represented your interests well. And lastly, I have had the honor to work with a wonderful group of people who comprise the staff and my current colleagues, Mayor Gail Washburn, Pro Tem Jamie Brooks, and council members Brian Sipes and Steve Conaway. As volunteers for the greater good of Fillmore, you have taken on what many term is a thankless job. And I thank you for the hard work and the time you devoted to keep Fillmore on track. It has been my pleasure to be a part of the process, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Is there anybody who wishes to speak on an item that's not on the agenda?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
And I would prefer to do it from the dais.
Okay.
Right. Thank you. You know, facts are a stubborn thing. One of the things we have to struggle with is doing what's right and sometimes setting aside expediency and the need to feel as if there's urgency. And Mayor, you made a comment that a meeting has been scheduled for tomorrow at 11 a.m. And I'm looking at the first meeting notice that was sent to the City Council from the City Manager, and that was time-stamped at 1:33 this afternoon. So the Council wasn't noticed of an official meeting until that time, so we are not within the 24-hour time requirement. I've communicated with the City Manager as such. I've had discussion with the City Attorney right before the meeting. Some of you may have overheard me state in opposition. I do not believe that we've met the timeline for that meeting. When I was originally asked on Monday if I was available for Wednesday or Thursday, I reported that I was not available Wednesday, but am Thursday. The meeting, when I got noticed at 1:33 this afternoon, I was a little surprised it was on Wednesday, but later found out that there's other conflicts with their council members. You know, not being immune to conflicts, I respect that. I think the right thing to do, given the need to have full public input, transparency of government, is to work through this matter at a regular scheduled meeting where we have our citizenry at home watching, able to participate and attend, and not to do it in the middle of a weekday when most of our people are at work and you're unaware, especially with less than 24-hour notice of the meeting. So what I'm asking for, and what is the right thing to do, is to cancel the meeting, which was scheduled for tomorrow at 11 a.m., that we as a council were noticed of at 1:33 this afternoon. So that's my comment. I believe the action is that of the City Manager and the Mayor to do the right thing and cancel that meeting and do it so the citizens can participate at a future time. And I'm not saying Thursdays are bad time, you know, there's just conflicts. So that's my comment.
I'm Roy Paine, also representing KDF, and wanted you to hear from Rod that, again, as far as KDF and the properties they own, they're still actively pursuing, trying to obtain development on those. So this common area infrastructure agreement and making sure that it's current is very important to them as it is to the city, as Rod mentioned, because there's the common area infrastructure fees, when they put together, there's about $12 million worth of infrastructure that was identified as common area infrastructure to benefit all the business park. About $7.8 million of that infrastructure has been constructed either by the city or by KDF Fillmore Riverview. And so the city, as Rod mentioned, and KDF are the first ones in line to get reimbursed when other development comes forward. Part of it will be, even if the Perry Ranch piece develops, there are infrastructure fees that will be paid there that will go to reimburse back to KDF and to the city, according to the settlement agreement that the city and KDF entered into last October. We spent a lot of time last summer negotiating the settlement agreement that the council eventually approved in October to set out the process for collecting the fees and then for paying those fees back based upon first infrastructure constructed is to be the first one reimbursed. And there were some reimbursements that took place back then. That's part of a settlement agreement. With short staff and loss of some staff, we felt it's important that that settlement agreement, because those things aren't usually looked at when you're at the counter collecting fees. The city is familiar with collecting development impact fees. Someone applies for a building permit and say, oh, there's development impact fees you have to pay. The city, because there hasn't been that much activity yet, isn't that familiar with the common area infrastructure fees, but they're to be collected at the same time with the time of building permits go. But right now they're just in a settlement agreement. So we felt it was important to document what's in the settlement agreement in a resolution, and then you would treat that the same way you do development impact fees. Every year the council looks at the development impact fees and makes adjustments to adjust the fees either up or down based upon some inflationary factor so that they're current. And we believe it's in the city's best interest, as well as the developers, to make sure that the common area infrastructure fees are current also, so that you're collecting today's value of that investment. So the majority of this resolution simply takes what was in the negotiated settlement agreement, which was approved, and puts it into resolution form, and also puts in there a provision that this be reviewed annually. So it's kept current, and also that the staff and the council are familiar with this and continually reminded until we collect this $12 million of investment that's going into the business park. And the only thing that's in that resolution right now, at least in my opinion, that has any impact on the other property owners is this inflationary adjustment annually. And to address that, back in March of 2008, when the business park was initially approved, I believe it was March, and the master plan was approved, the Fillmore Business Park master plan, all the property owners were notified, we're all involved. And there's specific language in the master plan, which is Appendix B of the Fillmore master plan, that says, prior to obtaining building permits for any development within the master plan area, all applicants are required to pay the most current city development impact fees and common area infrastructure fees adopted by the city council. So I believe that the language in the resolution is simply implemented what's already been reviewed, vetted through public hearings, and should be of notice to the property owners in the business park that they have to pay current fees. It's also, to my knowledge, and I'm not sure it's in all, but I would say it's in most of the conditions of approval that were approved for each project. There's a specific special condition in there that says, basically, quotes the same language in the master plan, you pay the most current fees. So it's not something that you're putting on the property owners as a surprise. It's simply implementing what has already been approved. So in my opinion, it could be approved tonight. I appreciate the concern wanting to let everybody know, and perhaps there's some value in that. Find out who's still active in the business park, who's got a concern. But I guess what I want to emphasize is it shouldn't be of any concern or of issue on anybody's part to put this into a resolution, because it's simply parroting what's already in the master plan, what's already in the conditions of approval, putting it into a simple document so that it can be something that hopefully the city staff will be aware of, so that these fees are collected. The worst thing that can happen is someone comes in, pulls a building permit, and no one's aware that there's common area construction fees to be paid. And you come back afterwards and say, look, you got to pay these. Well, the pro forma gets shot to heck if that happens. Getting a storm drain project in there that has already been constructed and approved is also important that we have the city council acknowledge that, because that's critical to KDF's pro forma for their project. Thank you, I'm glad that answered your question.
Any questions for Mr. Paine? Okay, thank you very much.